Franny and Zoey, starting Fran from Fargo and Zoe Deschanel um, from New Girl. That's Oscar Isaac from the film. He sings Green Green Rocky Road. So does Bob Dylan. There's oftentimes there's multiples of the same prime. Um, J.D. Salinger is Joe DiMaggio Salinger, published in a place and a time that's different than now. He wrote The Catcher in the Rye. He was the leading intellectual of his time. They played baseball. They played wherever they wanted, parking lots or whatever. But yeah, he played professional baseball, loved it. But then he wrote like this story. Um, he was friends with Jack Kerouac. Jack Kerouac was Mickey Mantle. Joe DiMaggio played center fields. He's a well-known baseball player. Mickey Mantle, well-known baseball player. The Yankees. Um, Joe DiMaggio was Frank Sinatra's son, very wealthy family. He was an orthopedic, you know, surgeon, but more importantly, he was a good house doctor. Nathaniel was a good house doctor, a general practitioner. It's more like call and response than kind of prescription. Um, myself, I posted that photo of the leg. There's something called like the medial, the remedial thing. It's like on your hands you have something, something, something. You have railroad tracks. So under your leg you have railroad tracks. So, why didn't my house doctor tell me that? I have two different things. I have uh my foot, the the some type of bone fracture in my foot. But there's no fracture, there's no break. So there's just what EP called tension from the first hour, basically at Grady. That's going to be prolonged probably throughout my life. I've just had foot cramps. I get foot cramps. Alligators reach out to me on Facebook, whatever. But yeah, I had really, really painful foot cramps where I thought probably, you know, probably a year ago. Um, no, I mean like during the winter. During the winter when we were reading things like this, um, maybe before that, so maybe a year ago, where I thought I was gonna have to call the ER. Basically, it kind of, if it's across the foot, it's a normal cramp like in tennis, and then um, it kind of you can move like in a cramp, you even a stomach cramp, you think you can still run. Sometimes you can, it goes away. So I try to make it go away by moving. Ryan Philippi told me to lift it up. Um, so I raise it nowadays. But yeah, generally you move it, you try to put pressure on it. Um, so now I'm icing it and heating it, which is good. I've generally had foot cramps. So I think it happened before also, and then after it got worse. So if it lasts 5 or 10 minutes, if it's prolonged for like a full minute at 10 pain, it's like the foot breaks. And it's a lot of pain, you know. But I guess the thing I realized was it's gonna stop. So if it's gonna go on forever, then you're in trouble, right? It's your foot, so you can't die from it. So, it kind of what happens is the toes curl and I lose the ability to kind of dislocate pain. Like I said, it's not like you predict literally where the pain is. You kind of just fidget. You like do the anti-fidgetus. Um, but as far as under the knee, that's something that's healing. Um, that makes it painful in the short run. But the reason you cry is because it's healing, which is a great feeling because they're your legs. You walk your whole life. The idea that old people are weaker than young people because they walk so much. they have a lot of mileage. That's false. So Franny and Zoe is about the game. Harvard and Yale, kind of their rivalry. Are inverse psychology LCDs useful? Yes. Are they good? Not necessarily. One that I use when I write and read my own fiction is I kind of think about what um, like what I guess someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger thinks about it. Just some like really impoverished guy, instead of like some hero, or the hottest girl in SoCal or something. It's just it's funny, it looks like there's dead weight loss, so I'm trying to minimize it, but um I don't want it's been so long since our fiction workshop, but like if someone's like that changed my life, wow, I'm the man. But how much of that at this point, if I'm looking at JD Salinger, am I going to do? 1959, 55, Brown versus Board of Education, Malcolm Gladwell, done. Dolls. Though brilliantly, though brilliantly sunny, Saturday morning was overcoat weather again. Saturday morning was overcoat weather again. Not just top coat weather, as it had been all week, and as everyone had hoped it would stay for the big weekend, the weekend of the Yale game, of the 20 some young men who were waiting at the station for their dates to arrive on the 10:52. No more than 6 or 7 were out on the cold, open platform. The rest were standing around in hatless, smoky little groups of twos and threes and fours inside the heated waiting room, talking in voices that almost without exception sounded collegiately dogmatic, as though each man in his strident conversational tone was clearing up once and for all some highly controversial issue, one that outside non matriculating world had been bungling, provocatively or not, 2 centuries. Lane Cattell, in a Burberry coat, had apparently a wool liner buttoned into it, one that was 6 or 7 Orvis on the open platform. Or rather, he wasn't one of them. For 10 minutes or more, he had deliberately been standing just out of conversation range of the other boys, his back against the Free Christian Literature rack, his ungloved hands in his coat pockets. He was wearing a maroon cashmere muffler, which had hiked up his neck, giving him next to no protection against the cold. Abruptly and rather absently, he took his right hand out of his coat pocket and started to adjust the muffler, but before it was adjusted, he changed his mind. Used the same hand to reach inside his coat and take out a letter from the inside pocket of his jacket. He began to read it immediately with his mouth not quite closed. The letter was typewritten on pale blue notepaper he had handled on fresh look as if it had been taken out of its envelope and read several times before. Tuesday, I think. Tuesdays with Maury. Mitch Applebaum. Dearest Lane, I have no idea if you will be able to decipher this, as the noise in the dorm is absolutely incredible tonight, and I can hardly hear myself think. So if I spell anything wrong, kindly have the kindness to overlook it. Incidentally, I've taken your advice and resorted to the dictionary a lot lately. So if it cramps my style, you're to blame. Anyway, I just got your beautiful letter and I love you to pieces, distraction, etc. And can hardly wait for the weekend. It's too bad about not being able to get me in Croft House, but I don't actually care where I stay as long as it's warm and no bugs and I see you occasionally, i.e., every single minute. I've been going crazy lately. I absolutely adore your letter, especially the part about Elliot. I think I'm beginning to look down all the poets except Sappho. I've been reading her like mad, and no vulgar remarks, please. I may even do my thing on her if I decide to go out for honors. If I can get the moron they assign me as an advisor to let me. Delicate Adonis is dying. Cytherea. What shall we do? Beat your breasts, maidens, and rend your tunics. Isn't that marvelous? She keeps doing that too. Do you love me? You didn't say once in your horrible letter, I hate you when you're being hopeless, super male, and reticent. Reticent is spelled wrong. Not really hate, but am constitutionally against strong, silent men. Not that you aren't strong, but you know what I mean. It's getting so noisy in here I can hardly hear myself think. Anyway, I love you and want to get off this special delivery. So you can get in plenty of time I can find the stamp in this effing madhouse. I love you, I love you, I love you. Do you actually know I've only danced with you twice in 11 months? Not counting that time at Vanguard when you were so right. I mean, tight. I'll probably be hopelessly self conscious. All my love, Franny. So I read that as a dude. I guess Franny's a woman. P.S. Daddy got his x rays back from the hospital, and we're so relieved. It's a growth, but it isn't so malignant. I spoke to Mother indeed, on the phone last night. Incidentally, she sent her regards to you. So you can relax about Friday night. I don't even think they heard us come in. P.P.S. I sound so unintelligent and dim witted when I write to you why. I give you my permission to analyze it. Let's just try to have a marvelous time. I mean, not to try to analyze everything to death for once, if possibly, especially me. I love you. Francis, her mark.